I can tell you, I also spoke to co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously.
If you say that one more time, I'm going to poke the shit out of you when I see you.
To no one's surprise, reports are coming out that Shannon Sharpe's career with Disney is over. For those who aren't aware, Disney owns pretty much everything.
Welcome back to StarHush, where we don't miss a single drip of the mess. And trust, Shannon Sharpe's situation, it's dripping everywhere. So picture this. One day, Shannon was sitting at the top, Mr. Primetime, ESPN's golden pick, living large off seven-figure checks, playing clean-cut media favorite. But the next, boom, ESPN and Disney hit the brakes on him like they caught him running red lights in a school zone. Deals gone, image wrecked. And now the empire he spent decades building is sinking like a stone. But here's where it gets wild. This wasn't just a regular celebrity scandal. Nah, this was a total collapse. We're talking old lawsuits bubbling back up, secret settlements popping out the vault, shady audio recordings making their rounds. It all hit like a flash flood. Insiders at ESPN flipped on him. Disney execs freaked out about their squeaky clean image, and the brand deals? They ran for the hills. And what's Shannon doing now? He ain't staying quiet. Word in the hallway is he's steaming, pacing, plotting, ready to flip the whole chessboard. Sources are saying he's gearing up to air out everything. And if what we're hearing is even halfway true, this revenge mission could put half the network on blast. But here's the part that's got folks really talking. Something about Shannon been feeling off for a while now. Like people been peeping little red flags but staying quiet out of respect or maybe denial. Because let's be real, Shannon Sharpe is one of those dudes people want to root for. Big name, came from the mud, became a legend. You want to believe he's solid, right? But maybe that loyalty made us miss the signs. Because let's be honest, when it comes to football, Shannon's a beast. Man gave 3 decades to the sport, stacked rings, earned his Hall of Fame stripes. And when he stepped into the media game, he lit it up. He was a natural in front of the camera. Undisputed with Skip Bayless made him a household name. And let's not lie, his memes carried social media through half the pandemic. Then came that Cat Williams Club Shay Shay interview in 2024, and that interview took off like a rocket. Suddenly, Shannon was the guy. Funny, real, a little country, a little flashy. The brown liquor, cigars, and that laid-back uncle vibe. Folks were loving it. Some people said it gave low-key stereotype energy, but most brushed it off because, well, Shannon was entertaining. By the time Stephen A. Smith brought him over to First Take, it felt like the next big move. 2 powerhouse names, 1 stage, TV gold. Everybody was cheering. Shannon had the juice, the audience, and the whole sports world watching him. Until it all flipped. So word is, a $100 million ESPN contract was practically on the table. That's 9 digits, people. The kind of deal most folks would play it cool and quiet for life over. But Shannon, he fumbled it in the most embarrassing way possible. He didn't just drop the ball, he spiked it on his own foot. Now let's keep it real. Older men dating younger women ain't some brand new headline. We've seen it 100 times over. Diddy was almost 40 when he got with 19-year-old Cassie. Eddie Murphy. That man could coach a whole youth league with the number of kids he's got, and he still married someone 2 decades younger. Age gap relationships? Not shocking anymore. But Shannon took it straight into uncomfortable territory. This man is 54, out here caught up with a 19-year-old, like even Leonardo DiCaprio, who's known for having a new, barely legal girlfriend every award season, might have looked at Shannon and gone, "Now hold up, bro, that's wild." And it doesn't stop there. The story gets messier than a spilled drink at the club. Shannon didn't just date the girl, he allegedly got caught saying he'd put hands on her in a threatening way. On tape. Whether she baited him into saying it or not, the fact that he even responded like that shows he was moving careless. No street smarts, no media training, nothing. He fell into the trap hard. And don't even get me started on the rumor that there's a tape out there. Yes, that kind of tape. And here's the kicker. There's no NDA in place to protect him. None. Zero. Zilch. You're a grown man, past 50, sitting on millions, and you're not even covering your tracks with basic legal protection? That's not bold, that's just plain reckless. Especially considering this is the same man who had a whole scandal last year when his personal life accidentally went live on Instagram. Remember that awkward moment? After something like that, anybody with sense would have tightened up their inner circle, got their legal team on speed dial, and made everybody sign ironclad NDAs before even texting back. But Shannon? Nope. He kept moving like everything was sweet. Now, with the new scandal blowing up, ESPN and Disney didn't waste time. They hit the brakes fast. It didn't even take 48 hours before everything started falling apart. On the outside, ESPN tried to keep it polished. They said Shannon was stepping back to handle personal matters. But insiders were already whispering the real tea. This wasn't no voluntary break. One source close to the production team said reports were flying that Shannon's days at ESPN might be officially numbered. Another insider confirmed he's only showing up for First Take on Mondays and Tuesdays. Any other days? That's not just time off. That's him being quietly edged out. And fans in the comments, they weren't fooled either. One wrote, "I think he's done. They covered for him the first time. But this is too much. ESPN's not standing by him through this one." Even Stephen A. Smith, the very person who went to bat for Shannon, put his name on the line to get him on First Take, had to address the situation on his own podcast. He admitted that he had personally spoken with Disney's top execs.
I can tell you, I also spoke to co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously. And we are looking into this very, very closely. And once we gather as many facts as we possibly can, we will go from there. And that is all he said. And I can mention his name because I received his permission to say that. I don't know what that means.
Shannon knew exactly what was happening. This wasn't some friendly see you later break. This was the soft boot, the classic quiet phase out before the NFL season kicks in. ESPN and Disney didn't hesitate one bit. They weren't buying time to support him. They were buying distance to protect the brand. No crisis management, no second chances, just a slow shuffle out the side door while they swept everything under the rug. The man got iced out to save the image, plain and simple.
In my perfect world, this equates to Jay-Z, where the case ultimately dropped and Shannon is allowed to continue on First Take and continue to thrive and shine. And not just that, and have an illustrious career in the podcast stratosphere, doing Nightcap with Chad Ochocinco, doing Club Shay Shay, and ultimately gets this $100 million deal that he was all over the news about to sign just a couple of days before this report came out. In my perfect world, he moves on. And somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth. I don't know where this is going to go. I can't speak to anything else. I don't know who Shannon Sharpe's legal team is and what they're suggesting. I imagine that everything that has transpired has been at the behest of his lawyers, not just himself.
But the moment that lawsuit hit the headlines, game over. A massive $50 million civil suit dropped like a bomb, filed by a 21-year-old woman accusing Shannon of misconduct, emotional distress, and putting her through way more than she signed up for. Shannon tried to stand on the defense, swearing the whole thing was just a grown-up relationship gone left, but his legal team was moving fast, blaming it all on a so-called setup. They pointed straight at powerhouse attorney Tony Busby. Yes, the same lawyer going after Diddy and Jay-Z, and called it nothing but a money grab wrapped in headlines and drama.
This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine.
But none of that made a difference, not to Disney, and definitely not to the folks at ESPN. Behind the scenes, employees were speaking up loud, saying it was straight up double standards to keep Shannon around while women at the same company had been let go for way less. The pressure started building, and leadership knew they couldn't ignore it. The backlash was real, and it wasn't slowing down.
Immediate reaction from Disney is a reflection of the court of public opinion and Shannon fighting for his life with his brand image. And we wouldn't be in this place if he hadn't established such a strong tie to having an affinity to assert his sexual dominance and preference on everyone else. We know too much about him, and it's now coming back to bite him. Usually, companies use a morality clause when they're hiring somebody or considering someone who's potentially going to represent the company in a public way. The purpose of a morality clause is to protect the brand at the end of the day. Everything has to come back to the bottom line, and they have to be able to know that what they put out there is reflective of the brand and what we call in the industry brand safe. Disney is widely known for being very strict and not playing around when it comes to the morality clauses that they put into their talent's contract.
And that's when everything came crashing down. And let's just say that closet, it was packed tighter than a warehouse on Black Friday. First up, Shannon's so-called type. People have been side-eyeing it for a while now, but once the scandal hit, his pattern got dragged all the way into the spotlight. For years, Shannon's been chasing after super young, racially ambiguous women, all while making slick comments about black women who carry themselves with confidence and class. And the internet didn't forget. The biggest red flag? That awkward moment when Chad Ochocinco tried to hook Shannon up with the gorgeous and talented Yvonne Orji. Smart, successful, celibate. Basically the kind of woman men say they want. But Shannon? He laughed it off right on camera. And not just laughed. He threw shade and said he preferred someone more like Miss B Nasty, a popular white content creator on. That moment wasn't just awkward, it was harsh, loud, and downright disrespectful. It painted a picture, plain as day. Shannon's version of the ideal woman was worlds away from a strong black woman standing in her worth and faith. And once folks on the internet started putting two and two together, his pattern became impossible to ignore. Enter Gabriela Zuniga, the woman now taking Shannon to court for a massive $50 million. She's young, racially ambiguous, and by many accounts, vulnerable. A description that lines up way too closely with Shannon's usual type. But Gabriela's claims weren't just surface-level drama. They were explosive. She didn't just say he was overbearing. She said Shannon secretly filmed her, didn't honor agreed boundaries, and even ignored her pleas when she asked him to stop. The most jaw-dropping part? When she tried to distance herself, she claimed Shannon offered her a whopping $10 million to stay quiet. But when she stood her ground and went public instead, Shannon played the shakedown card, but the receipts had already hit the internet, and those leaked audio clips, they only made things worse. In one, you can hear Shannon clearly saying this.
You said that one more time, I'm gonna poke the shit out of you when I see you. I'm angry with you in public. Big black guy, small white woman.
It's not a good look, Shannon.
Shannon and his legal squad tried to get ahead of the storm. Pulling up text messages they say prove Gabriela was the one who wanted intense roleplay, even going as far as requesting rough scenarios. But here's the issue, and it's a big one. It doesn't matter what was agreed to in the beginning. The moment Gabriela says stop, everything changes. Consent isn't a lifetime pass, it's something that has to be active the whole time. If she withdrew it and he kept going, that flips the whole story, and that's the part Shannon's team doesn't seem to get. But here's where it gets worse. Gabriela's story isn't the only one coming to light. Once this lawsuit made headlines, even more old drama started bubbling up from Shannon's past. One new report alleges that during his time on Undisputed with Skip Bayless, Shannon got into a heated situation with a female production assistant. It never went public at the time, but behind closed doors, there was reportedly a settlement worth hundreds of thousands. And then there's his ex, Michelle Evans. Back in 2010, she filed a restraining order, accusing Shannon of serious misconduct during their breakup, which allegedly stemmed from cheating accusations. Michelle claimed Shannon forced her into a terrifying situation that led to his quiet removal from CBS Sports. That part of his past had been swept under the rug, until now. Years later, Michelle sat down with blogger Tasha K and aired it all out. She spoke on the uncomfortable dynamic in their relationship, his need for control, and personal behaviors that she said the public never got to see.
He loved to have his booty played with. That part might not have been everyday sex, but other than that, it was just...
What, so like you put fingers and tongue in his butt?
Yeah. You know, there were times where I wondered if maybe he was bi, but then I would tell myself, no, that doesn't mean he's gay just because he likes his booty being played with.
So do you think you kind of opened up his butt to new experiences?
No, I can't imagine because he already liked.
And if you thought those Club Shay Shay episodes with Monique and Cat Williams were a little awkward back then, go ahead and rewatch them now. They aged like milk. Monique practically sat there and pleaded with Shannon on camera, telling him straight up to stop chasing after younger women and finally settle down with someone grown. A real woman who could love him for who he is, not just a lifestyle. And the way Shannon brushed it off, yeah, it's not looking too good in hindsight.
You need no 26-year-old girl. You don't need no 36-year-old girl. This is your auntie talking to you. Take your ass and get you an old bitch out there that can love you old. You're trying to hang out with these young bitches and you can't do it, Shannon. You just can't do it.
Cat Williams didn't hold back either. He joked, but with a serious undertone, about how risky it is for black men to be getting involved with young, white-presenting women. He was throwing shade in a slick way, warning Shannon that messing around like that could blow up in your face real quick.
And down the street like Jonathan Majors.
There you go, think I'm old, cat.
Not because I didn't like white women. I think white women are as great as any other women. But I'm not gonna act like I'm not scared of them. I have a reason to be scared. You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit ass down in 2 weekends. And that's the truth of the matter. So I stayed away from that. And remember, I told you the drug story from when I'm in the park.
And let's be real. Disney and ESPN didn't cut ties with Shannon Sharpe because they suddenly had a moral breakthrough. They did it because folks inside the company were making noise, especially the women working behind the scenes. Employees were calling out the double standard loud and clear. Women had gotten fired for way less. Minor policy slips, social media posts, even just standing too close to a politician during COVID. Meanwhile, Shannon was being protected like nothing happened, even with serious allegations swirling around him. The pressure got too heavy to ignore. There was a real fear bubbling. Fear of a discrimination lawsuit, fear of internal unrest, fear of a headline-grabbing scandal sparking another wave of "they covered it up" drama. And Disney? They don't play when it comes to their image. They move quick when the bag's at risk. Loyalty doesn't mean much if sponsors start pulling out and the stock price starts dipping. Shannon became a walking liability overnight. So now, the story is Shannon stepping away till football season. But let's not play pretend. Insiders are already whispering, it's a wrap. He's not coming back, not to First Take, not to ESPN, not like before. Even if he did return, the cloud over his name is permanent. That trust, gone. That brand shine, dull. And the sad part, Shannon really had next. He could have been even bigger than Stephen A. Smith. He had the charisma, the platform, the viral pull. He had Club Shay Shay booming, the sports world in his hand, and networks fighting to work with him. But now, he's stuck defending his name, and it's looking like he might be on his own. Even Stephen A. is trying to step back now. That's tough because Stephen was the one who brought Shannon into First Take. He was the one pushing behind the scenes, saying this would be the next big duo. But now, he's got to do cleanup duty, trying to protect himself from looking like the guy who vouched for the wrong person. The whole mask has fallen off. The receipts are all over the place. Fans, insiders, and even people who used to root for him are now side-eyeing every move, because behind all the memes, cigars, and tailored suits, Shannon was making decisions that were bound to blow up. He got reckless. He let power convince him the rules didn't apply. He was out here chasing clout, making questionable choices, ignoring warning signs, and thinking the spotlight would protect him. But karma doesn't miss. Karma don't care how many shows you host or how many touchdowns you scored. And now, that spotlight is exposing everything he tried to keep in the dark. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, word on the street is Gabriela Zuniga's team is just getting started. More audio, more texts, possibly full video receipts. If that drops, this mess is going to get way more chaotic, and Shannon might not be the only one caught in the storm. So drop your thoughts below. Do you think Shannon's done for real? Or can he spin this back in his favor somehow? Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and don't miss what's coming next, because the tea is boiling and stars and hushers. You won't want to miss what's about to pour out.